what the New York Jets have been doing with Jamal Adams and what Jamal Adams is doing to the New York Jets. Now, I understand Jamal. Jamal has been the best safety in football for the last 2 years. Derwin James is right behind him, who missed practically the whole season last year because of injury. And the safety position has become a very important position moving forward, especially DBs. You can move them. You can move them in the cornerback and the nickel packages. You can do a lot of things. Blitz him. Do all what you want. And Jamal Adams is very, very good at every single aspect of the DB position.
Outside linebacker, too. We're seeing a lot of safeties move around, too.
But right now, the New York Jets are still in control of Jamal Adams' contract. He's still on contract for the Jets for next year as well. So that's 2 years. And they can franchise him if they really feel up to doing. Now, he can decide to sit out this season because he wants to make the money. And that quite possibly could happen. And that's why the Jets decided to add a safety in this year's draft. But to me, Jamal Adams is acting like a big baby. He really is. I understand. You are one of the best safeties, or if not the best safety in football. We all knew you were going to be one of the best safeties in football when you were drafted by the Jets. Now, I'm not taking shots at Jamal Adams completely because I also can hand a lot of shots at Adam Gase and maybe a little bit, just a little bit, on Joe Douglas. Now, Joe Douglas, you saw what he did this offseason. He didn't spend a lot of money. He moved the money around very, very well on the offensive line, adding Font, adding the different personalities on that offensive line that you're going to be adding this coming season. You drafted some offensive linemen. You really rebuilt the offensive line in one off season, which you expected Joe Douglas to do because that's what he's good at. But the whole Jamal Adams thing has been a complete, utter, ridiculous story that is not going away for the New York Jets.
Now, again, with Joe Douglas now kind of being in this situation for the first time with the Jets, because let's not forget, even though he was with other teams in the past, players weren't as fussy as they are now in terms of with holdouts, young players getting mad right away at their teams. Do you think that's just new for him where he doesn't want to be impulsive at the same time and pay him right away? Because we've seen that hurt a team like the Rams, who had a bunch of contract issues because they paid their players right away, and now they have a lot of bad contracts where they can't fill out the roster. So maybe he's trying to be more patient for that reason?
I don't know what he's trying to do. And I understand, and I trust. In Joe, I trust because you saw what he did in the draft. This is the first time I've seen a GM move back and add draft picks in two different rounds, in two separate rounds, and also made a trade with the New England Patriots and added 2 4th-round draft picks in the 6th round next year, which was an incredible move by him.
Right, doing what you normally see the Patriots do.
But this story just keeps going further and further along. It doesn't help the organization. It doesn't help Jamal Adams moving forward. I understand Jamal wants to be the highest paid safety in football. We all understand that. And he is going to be the highest safety paid in the future. Absolutely is. If he keeps playing the way he is and getting better and better every single year, he's going to make a lot of money. Now, I do believe he wants to go to the Cowboys. He grew up a Cowboy fan. I mean, the stories coming out with the Dallas Cowboys, they want Jamal Adams. I understand that. But to get Jamal Adams, you're going to have to give up a lot. You're not going to the Jets aren't just going to hand a Pro Bowl, all-pro safety for nothing.
And not to mention, Dallas is also financially strapped, too, where that's going to be a big commitment for them, where they still have other holes on defense, too, to solve. So if they do that, they're going to invest a lot into the star player, the big name, a great player, no doubt. But again, is that going to be worth it for them if they have to give up multiple firsts? And again, if they aren't able to pay guys like Leighton Vander Esch and some of the younger offensive linemen down the road, that's a big question for them too. So it'll be interesting on both ends how it works. And again, I think Douglas, like I said, is being patient for the reason of you don't want to just do it impulsively and tend to the players right away because that could hurt you in the case of like a team like the Rams, like I was saying.
Now, honestly, all the fans out there listening to the show right now, and if you're a Jet fan, and maybe you're not a Jet fan, maybe you're just a Jamal Adams fan, do you think the Jets should be paying Jamal Adams right now when he's still under contract for 2 more years and they can still franchise him? How about Russell Wilson demanding the contract that he got before the Seattle Seahawks gave him the contract that he wanted? And I'm not talking about his first contract. I'm talking about his second. And to me, Jamal Adams is still not available to make that attempt or make that argument that he deserves $100 million from the New York Jets. Because to be honest with you, as good as Jamal Adams has been since he's come into the league, Jamal Adams has been a problem not only to the press, but to the locker room. Now, everybody says, well, what are you talking about? He's a leader in the locker room. Yes, but he airs out the Jets' business when he talks to the press. He's telling everybody that he can't stand losing. So what are you saying? The Jets are a losing organization? As a player, maybe they are a losing organization, but as a player and a player that's playing for that organization, you don't mention these things about an organization, even though you don't mean to mention those things when you're talking to the press. But he says it. And as a Jet fan, it annoys me because this team right now, in my eyes, is moving in the right direction with Joe Douglas. Yeah. I don't know about Adam Gase. I don't think Adam Gase is the coach of the future for this organization. But for right now, he is the head coach of the New York Jets. He is. And there's no argument to that. And I think all the Jet fans that are complaining about the coaching and this and that and why these players aren't being used right, could you do better? Seriously. Could you do better? This organization hasn't won since 1969. They haven't won anything. They've been to 2 AFC title games. 2 of them. In the last, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, I think the last one before they had the 2 with Rex Ryan was 1980-something.
It's an embarrassing organization. And I'm saying that as a Jet fan. They've been an embarrassment as an organization for the last 30, 40 years. They don't draft right. They bring in GMs that don't know what the hell they're doing. The coaches they bring in, what are they around? The longest one they've had so far is Rex Ryan for 5 years, 5.5 years. They bring in Todd Bowles. He lasted 3 years. Al Groh, he was fired after the first year. Rich Kotite, first year. You want me to go down the list? Eric Mangini, 2.5 years. Herman Edwards, how long was he with the Jets? 4 years?
4 years, yep.
The Jets have had an organization ran poorly. You want to say it's ownership? I don't blame ownership. Ownership opens up their pockets. Now, everybody says ownership has a lot to do with building a team. I beg to differ on that.
Well, it depends on the circumstances, too. Like, the Jets do a lot of things that I don't think are as, obviously bad. Like, you could tell with certain bad ownerships. Like, I always bash the Dolphins all the time, the Redskins, teams like that. You can tell when the contracts are bad. And again, the Jets do some questionable things, sure, but so does every other organization. So I think, it's a work in progress. And finally, you're seeing the Jets actually try to go in the right direction, whereas in the past, they were just trying to build a defense and then patch their offense together through free agency, which rarely works.
And this is not about the Jets. This whole topic has nothing to do with the Jets as much as we're talking about the Jets right now, because Jamal Adams has something to do with the Jets organization. And this is an embarrassment right now for Jamal Adams. I don't care how great of a player you are, Jamal. And I'm going to say this, and I know you're probably not listening, but nevertheless, I'm going to speak the way I feel as a New York Jet fan. If you're a player and you want $100 million and you believe you deserve that kind of money as a strong safety or a free safety in this league, and he can play multiple positions, Jamal Adams, he's proven that. If you want that money, keep playing. Keep playing hard, prove your worth, and you will get paid.
Yeah, and I think as well, we've seen teams or players lose out money once they do end up sitting out a year or do end up holding out the way they did. Now, again, the safety position is rising a little more. Most of the other players...
How many great safeties are in this league? Maybe 5? 6?
I would say, let's see, Harrison Smith, I would say Honey Badger, I would say Jamal Adams, and Derwin James, I would say is 4. Yeah, it's probably the top echelon because a lot of the other guys that were great coverage safeties that used to be fell off a little bit. All right, so you could say in that 4 realm. And I think Harrison Smith's the highest paid, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he is right now. But Jamal Adams is going to make that money. Actually, Landon Collins is the highest paid.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. So Landon Collins is the highest paid. But again, I don't think anyone's going to top his market. I think that was more of the exception of the market, like I was saying earlier when we were talking about ownership.
And he wants that
money. The Redskins overpay everybody.
Jamal Adams wants that kind of money, and he's going to get that money. He will get that money when he becomes a free agent. Jamal Adams is 23, 24 years old. He's a kid. He's a kid. He will be a free agent at the age of 26, just like
Landon Collins.
Not even just like Landon Collins, just like the guy the Jets brought in at the linebacker position. You know who I'm talking about. C.J. Mosley, who the Jets paid $85 million to, okay? So I do believe Jamal Adams will get whatever he wants, and the Jets will give him a $100 million contract. And if not, they're going to trade him, and they're going to get a lot back for him. And for all the Cowboy fans that keep stating that they need Jamal Adams and Jamal Adams needs them, it's ridiculous because the Jets aren't moving him for garbage. They're not going to do that. I know that's what the beef thinks. And he's been speaking so highly of Jamal Adams like all those stupid Cowboy fans are. And I'm not taking shot at Cowboy fans. But there are stupid Cowboy fans that every single player that becomes available, he's going to the Cowboys.
Well, also the fact of, are they saying that also because of the Jets' trading history? The Jets' mistakes really haven't come from bad trades, though, either. That's more of you look at other dysfunctional organizations, that's not the Jets' problem. The Jets' problem has really just been player development as a whole, and like you were saying earlier, coaching, just they're hiring the wrong coaches.
How could it not bother you as a fan, not just an NFL fan, when you have a player of that magnitude, your best player right now on paper, not Sam Darnold, Jamal Adams is the best player with the New York Jets, besides, I guess you could say C.J. Mosley.
No, I think Adams is probably better at this point.
I think C.J. Mosley. Okay. I mean, he's been more proven, and C.J. Mosley's only 26 years old. He's still young. So you want to argue? It's C.J. Mosley, Jamal Adams. Those are your two best players. C.J. Mosley got paid. Jamal Adams will get paid. But the fact that Jamal Adams keeps, and this story keeps coming out, not only through the press, but throughout the country, the Cowboys, I mean, what is the newspaper over there in Dallas? I forget.
Too.
But the Dallas newspaper is talking about it, make a move for Jamal. I mean, I think that was the headline. I mean, to me, it's complete, utter ridiculousness. And to me, as a sports fan and as a fan, I understand that this player wants to get paid, and I believe he should get paid from the New York Jets. I do. He deserves to get paid. But for right now, he needs to wait. Needs to wait his turn.
And I think as well, the stall is how big are these offers? Now, we heard that Dallas was rumored to trade 2 firsts. How true is that? And maybe Douglas is saying, all right, anyone else want in on this? In on Jamal Adams, who could definitely help out their secondary.
There's a lot of teams that are going to be very interested in Jamal Adams.
So I think that's what they're waiting for more than anything else. And again, for the players' end of it, it just frustrates them because we're seeing other players get paid right away, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily a good decision to pay all these players
It's not just the Cowboys, guys. I'm not saying just the Cowboys. There are a lot of teams that will be in it on the sweepstakes for Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is the best player at his position right now in the league. He is. Right now, he was an all-pro player this year. He is probably the best player at the safety position right now in the league.
And worst case, if you want to nitpick on certain things, he's top 3 with the most upside of anybody. So judge that accordingly as well.
So he's going to get paid. Now the question is he going to get paid by the Jets, or are the Jets deciding, and Joe Douglas quite possibly could say, you know what, we don't need Jamal Adams. We can move on from him and try to get as much draft stock as we can for Jamal Adams, and then build through the draft the way we did. And you saw what they did. They drafted a safety in the 3rd round. So you know that if it's not Jamal Adams on his way out, it's Marcus May. If they plan to play 3 safeties at the same time, quite possibly could with Williams' defense.
And maybe that's something they're going to experiment with too. Maybe they're going to hold it out into the season where they want to see how these guys fit, maybe if Ashton Davis is a natural free safety kind of thing, if Marcus May steps up bigger in terms of him staying healthy. There's a lot of things maybe they're factoring in to make that decision before they're doing it impulsively too. And it might take it into the season too. And the other thing too is think about this. If the season... We never know, with surprise contenders, stuff like that. A team may be more urgent to trade for a defensive back like Jamal Adams at the trade deadline, and they might even sell even higher than what the Cowboys have been doing.
As a Jet fan, I am not happy about Jamal Adams, speaking to the press, and it seems like it's getting out throughout his agent or his publicist. It's coming out one way or another. And I don't want to hear it. It's not him. It's absolutely him. It's absolutely him. He wants to get the press involved because if the press gets involved, everybody hears about it, and it becomes a story. And it is a story for the New York Jets. And the Jets need to jump on this and either erase it and talk to Jamal and tell him to shut his mouth, or trade the guy. Move on from him. Because to me, if you don't think Jamal Adams is a part of this team in the future, get him at his highest point. And right now, he was an all-pro player. You can get 2 first-round draft picks for Jamal Adams. You can absolutely do that.